Hello, hello, hello. All right. It looks like we're live. So thanks everybody for joining. This is my first YouTube live and something new that I'm trying to do. So this is going to be for Black History Month. We're going to be doing a few of these. So probably do one each week for the next 4 weeks here, and leading up to a couple of events that I have happening in the next month and a half or so, and also just an opportunity for people to kind of interact with me, ask any questions of that nature that they might have. So, long story short, if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat box over there, and we will try to get to as many questions as we can based on how many people we have on the YouTube live and all that good stuff. We'll go from there, okay? So, first thing that I wanted to go through is just a couple of quick reminders about a couple things that are happening or that you can do to kind of save yourself money on taxes, even though the year has already ended. And so, the first thing we want to touch on are retirement account contributions. Okay, you got 401k contributions that you might be able to do a profit sharing contribution to. You potentially do a SEP IRA if you have a small business. So those are two options available to small business owners, either a 401k or a profit sharing or a SEP IRA contribution for small business owners. We also have health savings accounts that you can still contribute to through the end of the year. Excuse me, not the end of the year, through April 15th of 2022 here, and count it for last year's tax return. And then we also have Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs that you can contribute to. Now, as many of you know, traditional IRA, you're going to receive a tax deduction if you're below the threshold for income wise. And for Roth IRAs, you're not going to receive a contribution. So, or a tax deduction, excuse me. All right. So, those are just a couple of real quick reminders of some things I want you to kind of think about and consider as we're approaching the tax return deadline coming up here. We're hard at work trying to get through people's tax returns. We're working through them as fast as we can to kind of help people out with whatever they need from a tax standpoint. Yeah, just looking forward to seeing what questions people have on this YouTube live. So, all right. A couple of things I wanted to mention. Escort and partnership deadline. All right. So that partnership and Escort deadline is actually March 15th. This is something that a lot of people either forget about or don't realize is that the deadline for your partnership and your S corporations is on March 15th. And so it's just something to kind of keep in mind and remember is that you do need to file your tax returns by that date or file for an extension by that date. So one of those two things. Okay. A couple of the things that I wanted to mention is we have, excitingly, a new tax workshop, two new tax workshops coming up in the near future here. And just make sure I give you guys the right dates here. Okay, so we got February 25th is the first event that's going to be happening. It's going to be in our building where our office is located at 2828 North Central. Okay, it's going to be tax tips for small business owners. Okay, this is a similar workshop to what I put on previously for the Arizona Small Business Tax Workshop, as I previously called it. It's going to be very similar, where we're going through, some organizational structuring. We're going to go through retirement planning. We're going to go through typical small business deductions. It's perfect for like your doctor, dentist, lawyer, those guys, anybody who's kind of paid as a 1099, who's basing a business for themselves. that makes more than $40,000 a year in profit, you're going to receive a lot of value from this workshop by attending that. And so that's something that's available, and that's something that's an option for you to do. Okay. The other workshop is going to be on March the 4th. That starts at 9 a.m. and it goes through 1 p.m. So both these are going to start at 9 a.m. and go through 1 p.m. So March 4th, you're looking at tax benefits of investing in real estate. So this is a brand new course I'm putting on. Pretty excited about this one. I've always kind of catered to small business owners and real estate investors, but I wanted to get a more specific course put together for real estate investors to be able to understand all the ins and outs of things such as the real estate professional status, the short-term rental, exception that's available to you, cost segregation studies, just general passive activity, loss rules, and things of that nature, and things that we're concerned about when you're doing real estate investments, limited partnerships versus owning your own real estate. Those types of things that we're looking to kind of get some people some more information about, educate a little bit on some of those ins and outs and ways to save money on your taxes for that type of activity that you might be doing. Okay. You can sign up for both those events on Eventbrite. Those are both live. They are $200. We will do a promo, okay, to save you $50 off that registration cost if you sign up in the next 48 hours. That promo is not live yet. It will be after the end of this YouTube video. But the promo is going to be Black History Month. Okay. So if you go in the next 24 hours after the end of this video, so basically until like noon tomorrow, roughly, somewhere in that time, you'll be able to save yourself $50 off of registering for our new workshop. Either workshop that's going to be happening in the next, 6 weeks here. Okay. So we will put that together for you. Okay. Questions. If there's any questions, again, put some questions in the chat. I'm just kind of talking through a couple of little points and notes and thoughts that I wanted to make sure that we covered during this YouTube live. But this whole point of this is for you guys, the audience, listening audience, to be able to ask Q&A. As a CPA, very knowledgeable about a lot of different things. So it doesn't have to just be tax related. It could be about financial stuff, about anything really that you want it to be about. So feel free to just type a comment or a question over in the chat, and we'll take care of as many of those as we can. So let's see. What else do I want to talk about? Well, we're waiting on a few questions to come through. Let's also talk through the stock market recently. This is not investment advice or anything like that, right? But this has been a really turbulent market the last several weeks. And if you are at all invested in the stock market, I definitely encourage people not to freak out. If you're seeing the stock market go down 20 to 30% in some of your stocks that you might be invested in, definitely don't freak out. They usually 9 times out of 10, maybe 9 9/10 of the time out of 10, will rebound and go back up to where they were previously, unless the company is just in such financial distress that it's going to end up going bankrupt. So you definitely don't want to freak out with the stock market. It's something that's going to still be around and something that will still be relevant to you. And so, yeah, I would definitely encourage you to kind of hold strong in that. If you can, if you have additional funds, maybe even put some additional funds into the stock market, whatever stocks you might be invested in, to help offset some of those, temporary losses that you might be seeing from, the economic circumstances that are out there. So just something to kind of throw out there. Cryptocurrency is another thing that I've been talking about a lot recently as well. It's definitely something to consider and think about as an investment strategy. It's up to you to determine how much of your investment portfolio you want to have invested in cryptocurrency, but it's definitely a great opportunity for you to have another asset class that can help you build some good wealth. So definitely encourage you to take a look at crypto world because that similarly has had a significant drop in the last several weeks, and so it's still a pretty good price point to get in if you have been on the sidelines thinking about getting into crypto. This might be an opportunity for you to get in. Same thing with the traditional stock market. So, all right. So let's see. Let's see. So what else do we have to talk about? S corporations. All right. So here's another good reminder for you. If you have an S corporation, just something to keep in mind. If you didn't do this already for 2021 tax year, you are required to have some W-2 compensation. Okay. And so if you're not, for some reason, doing your W-2 compensation for your S corporation, just make sure you think about getting that taken care of. It's technically late at this point. It should have been done by January 31st. And so, something to kind of think through and consider on getting taken care of. Now, there's some people that will do like a 1099 or something like that. And so that's not exactly the best way to do it, to be honest. It's definitely something that you want to think about, consider doing it the right way. However, if it's like a first time being an S corporation, and you didn't do any W-2 compensation or anything like that for the previous year, then that's okay. Maybe like a one-time exception, but you generally don't want to do that. All right. And frankly, it could come back to bite you if you do it that way. All right. So, okay, so we have a comment from, thanks, Stephanie, for joining in. Thanks for listening in, Stephanie Johnson. Hopefully, you have a question or two on this that burning your ear and something you want to ask us. We got a question here that says, when is it best to consider moving my LLC to an S corporation? It's a phenomenal question. That's actually a very important question. It's something that we talk about all the time. So, the best time to move your LLC to an S corporation is going to be when you're making a significant profit. Okay, so typically going to be like $40,000 or more in profit. So when I say profit, we're talking about your revenue less your expenses, gets you down to your profit, which is your kind of your bottom line. Is kind of what's left for you to take home before you pay yourself anything, right? That's where you want to start to think about. If you have 40,000 or more at that point, then we might want to have you be an S corporation. Well, the reason why you want to be an S corporation is to save you on payroll taxes. Okay, payroll taxes is what drives the decision on being an S corporation because that's ultimately what's going to help you to save on payroll taxes, which is a dreaded 15.3%. I don't know about you, but I don't want to pay an additional 15.3% to the government if I don't have to, especially since Social Security may not even be around by the time I reach retirement age. Just something to kind of think about and consider. And so it's definitely a great strategy to help save money on taxes by being an S corporation. It's also audited a lot less. Okay, as long as you're following the regional compensation rules, chances of you getting audited are super slim than being a sole proprietorship. Okay, reason being is it's just easier to audit a sole proprietorship than it is as a corporation or partnership. So yeah, that's kind of the defining factor when you want to think about and consider being an S corporation is making $40,000 or more in a year. Definitely helpful if it's consistent, but even if it's just, every other year or something like that, definitely consider being an S corporation at that point. I will tell you a couple professions that are notorious for not being S corporations when they should be. Real estate agents, okay? All you guys are paid, 1099. I shouldn't say all of you. Most of you are paid 1099, especially here in Arizona, where our main office is at. You guys are generally going to be paid 1099. And doctors, a lot of doctors are paid 1099 from hospitals, if they work for hospitals, things of that nature. Some lawyers, depending on how things are set up, are paid either 1099 or they're a partner in a partnership. And so they have the opportunity to also be an S corporation and have that S corporation own their interest in the partnership. So there's a lot of different professions that have a lot of high income where it could very much benefit them by being an S corporation. And so something you want to think about, consider if you're in any of those fields. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? It's a great question. Let's see. What else do I want to touch on? So let's talk about 401ks and the power of 401ks. So if you're a small business owner and you have a decent profit from that business and you're trying to look at ways to save yourself money on taxes, I would definitely consider doing a 401k for that business. Now, why do I prefer 401k over a SEP IRA? Well, it's a pretty simple equation. It's because you can put more money away. Okay. Let me clarify that. You put more money away by paying yourself lower W-2 compensation. Okay, if you're an S corporation. So typically, if you're contributing to a 401k, you're generally going to be making it more than the $40,000 we were just talking about for the S corporation, to where you're going to be an S corp and you're going to pay yourself W-2. Well, the nice thing about being in business for yourself and having a 401k, you can put away up to $20,500 now for 2022, plus 25% of your W-2 compensation into a 401k plan. Okay, whereas a SEP IRA, you're limited to only 25% of your W-2 compensation, so you don't get the employee portion of that contribution. So that's something to kind of think about and consider when you're trying to choose between a 401k and a SEP IRA. Now, it may be too late to start a 401k for 2021 tax year and make your employee contribution, mainly because that information does have to be on your W-2, and you have already filed your W-2 basically. However, you can still set up a 401k plan for last year and make your employer contribution, and then hopefully going into 2022, you start to make your employee and employer contribution. Okay. Let's see, we got a couple more questions that have come in. So, how should I prepare for the upcoming tax season? What documents do you need from me or my business? Well, it's a great question too. It's very difficult to say all the documents that we would need for yourself or your business. Obviously, the basic stuff like any W-2s, any 1099s you might have received, any interest forms. If you do stock trading, you got your 1099B forms. Anything like that that you might have that you receive in the mail. So a lot of places are required to send you information reports each year. And so those are going to be your starting point, right? Collect all those. Usually what I recommend is if you're receiving stuff in the mail, first of all, make sure you keep your address updated with anybody you have any financial accounts with, because they usually will send it to the last address on file. And if you move during the year, you may not get that form, and now we're hunting down. Okay, so I would definitely take a look at that. Make sure you have that in place. Get something scanned into the system or something like that so it's stored. The other thing you might want to do is pull a transcript. This is something that we're actually going to probably require for most of our tax returns this year, just because there's been so much craziness going on between the advanced child tax credit, the stimulus payments, all kind of unemployment stuff. There's all kind of stuff that's been happening to where people don't really even know how much money they made in the last year. And so we're going to be probably requiring transcripts for most people because we found out during last tax season we were going off of what people told us. In a lot of cases, the information was incorrect or not complete. And so one of the ways for us to kind of make sure that stuff is complete is for you to pull a transcript. It's a wage and income transcript from IRS. They're not currently updated or available for most of your stuff. However, we're expecting those to be updated on the next month or two. And so, unless you're just you really just want to get your return done quickly, my advice to a lot of people is to be a little patient with your return this year, just to make sure you receive all your documents, because you could have been receiving compensation from a bunch of different sources, and you haven't received that document yet. And if you do your tax return and you're missing something, you might have to amend your return and then go and pay someone to do it again. Okay, so we're not going to just amend your return for free. It's going to cost you more money to get that done. So I'm generally, encouraging people to, if you can, wait, at least a month or two, maybe like the late February, early March time frame before you start filing your returns, because you could be missing something you haven't thought about. Okay. So that's kind of a little bit of advice about this tax season that I would give people is, just be patient, wait till you get all your documentation in from various sources. Um, you know best your what money you received and things of that nature. But unfortunately, sometimes people do forget about stuff. So something to think about. Let's see. So I have another question here. Thanks, Michael, for the question, or Stephanie, excuse me. You said your name was earlier. So, are you very familiar with the trucking industry? I am considering purchasing a box truck to begin deliveries. Thanks. Yeah, I have a few clients that are in the trucking industry. Right now, it's a very, very good field to be in because there's a shortage of truckers. Um, and they're making a lot of money. A lot of these truck drivers are making a lot of money. Now, my clients typically are semi truck drivers, not box truck drivers. But I think box truck you can make similarly just as much money. The only main difference being is the box trucks usually aren't going like interstate and things of that nature. I'm not doing some long hauls. That's usually going to be your semi truck drivers. But I think the box truck industry is a good industry to make some money in. There's a huge need, huge need. There's so many people who, or companies, excuse me, that are looking for delivery drivers on a constant basis. One of my clients started up and they're making well over six figures in their first year. So it's definitely a very advantageous field to be in. If that's something you're interested in, I would encourage you to do it. And if you're looking for any assistance, from either bookkeeping, tax, payroll side of things, that is something that we can help you out with as well. And make sure you're staying compliant with everything that you need to stay compliant on. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question, Stephanie. If you have any follow-up, feel free to follow up with me. All right, so I also just wanted to kind of say one more time. So again, we have two events coming up here. So one's at the end of this month on February the 25th. So it's going to be a tax workshop for small business owners, and then we've got another one coming up on March 4th. That's going to be specifically for real estate investors. So definitely encourage you guys to go out there and sign up for those. Again, at the end of this broadcast, we'll make this live probably within 10 minutes of the end of the broadcast. Code will be Black History Month. Okay, it's going to be all caps, just Black History Month. If you type that in to the Eventbrite when you go to sign up, you'll be able to um, basically go in there and save yourself $50 off the registration price for that event. Okay, there will be a virtual component for people who are out of state. So if you're not in state, there is a virtual component that you'll be able to access the webinar through. And so for those that are in state, you can come in person and enjoy some continental breakfast as well as lunch on us. Get everything taken care of that you need, get some good education for yourself and your business. All right, so, well, thanks everybody for tuning in to this first YouTube live that I've done. We're going to be doing this, like I said, once a week for the next 4 weeks here. Going through Black History Month, just something new that I wanted to kind of do this year. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed getting a few little quick tips from us today. We'll be back with more definitely next week. Also, be some additional YouTube videos that will be posted here in the near future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all the comments, all that good stuff on the YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot of great content coming up here in the near future. So many things happening, so many current events, all the great stuff. Also, check out my podcast, the CPA Huddle, a podcast with a fellow Black CPA, Eric here. He's based out of Austin, Texas. He also has an office in San Diego, California. And so another great opportunity to kind of learn and educate yourself on a few stuff, complimentary, because we talk about a lot of different topics on that podcast. And so a great way to get some additional education, maybe listen to it on a road trip or something like that. Great opportunity there. Okay? So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll go ahead and end this YouTube live for this time. We'll talk to you guys more later. Everybody has a good one.